I handed my husband Marcus another check for $3,000 on a Tuesday morning. He kissed my forehead and said thank you like he always did. Told me it was just temporary. Just until he got that promotion he'd been working toward. Just until things turned around at his company. Just a little longer. That was the last check I ever gave him. Because 3 days later, I got the divorce papers in the mail. No warning, no conversation, no explanation, just legal documents telling me our 15-year marriage was over. And when I called him crying, asking why, asking what I did wrong, asking if we could talk about it, he said 6 words that made everything clear. I don't need you anymore. For 5 years, I had been supporting my husband, paying his bills, covering his rent before we moved in together, buying his groceries, paying for his car repairs, his student loans, his credit card debt, everything, because he said his salary wasn't enough. Said he was struggling, said he needed help just until he could get ahead. I believed him, because I loved him, because that's what you do for the person you marry. You help them, you support them, you sacrifice for them. That's what marriage means. Right? Wrong. So wrong. Because the second Marcus didn't need my money anymore, he didn't need me. And I was about to find out just how much he had been using me, how much he had been lying, and how much I had been a complete fool. Let me back up and tell you how this all started. How I ended up in this situation. How I married a man who saw me as a wallet instead of a wife. I met Marcus 7 years ago at a coffee shop. I was 32. He was 35. I had just gotten a promotion at my job. As a financial analyst, was making good money. Feeling confident. Feeling like my life was finally coming together. Marcus was charming, funny, attentive. He asked about my job, my family, my dreams. He seemed genuinely interested in me, in who I was, not just what I looked like or what I could do for him. We started dating. He took me to nice restaurants, bought me flowers, wrote me sweet notes, did all the things that made me feel special, wanted, loved. After 3 months, he told me he loved me. After 6 months, he moved in with me. After a year, he proposed, and I said yes, because I thought I had found my person, my partner, my forever. But there were signs, red flags I ignored, things I should have seen but didn't want to see, like how Marcus always seemed to be struggling with money, how he would mention his bills were due and he was short, how he would sigh about his student loans or his credit card balance or his car payment, never directly asking for money, just mentioning it. Planting seeds, waiting for me to offer, and I always did, because I had money and he didn't, because I made more than him, because I thought that's what loving partners do. They help each other, they support each other, they don't keep score. At first it was small amounts. $50 here, $100 there, money for gas, money for groceries, money to cover a bill that was overdue. He always said he would pay me back. Always said it was just temporary. Always said his next paycheck would be better. But he never paid me back, never had extra money, never seemed to get ahead no matter how much I helped him. After we got married, it got worse. We moved into a bigger apartment, one we both agreed on. But somehow, I ended up paying most of the rent, because Marcus said his salary barely covered his other bills. Said we should split rent based on income. Said it was only fair since I made more. I agreed, because it made sense, because I didn't want him to struggle, because I thought we were a team. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine, right? Wrong again. Because what was mine became his. But what was his stayed his. I paid for rent, utilities, groceries, internet, streaming services, everything for our home. He paid for his car, his phone, his student loans, his personal expenses, and somehow still never had money left over. I started keeping track, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to understand where all the money was going. How we could both be working full-time but always be struggling financially. In the first year of marriage, I gave Marcus over $20,000. In the second year, it was $30,000. By the 5th year, I had given him over $150,000. Money I had saved, money I had worked hard for, money I thought I was investing in our future, our life together, our partnership. But it wasn't a partnership. It was me funding his lifestyle while he contributed the bare minimum and waited for his big break, his promotion, his moment to shine. And then it happened. 3 months ago, Marcus came home with news. He got the promotion, the one he'd been working toward for 5 years. The one that came with a huge salary increase. The one that meant he finally wouldn't need my help anymore. I was so happy, so relieved, so excited for us, because this meant we could finally start saving together, finally plan for our future, finally be equal partners in our marriage. I suggested we celebrate. Go out to dinner, open a bottle of champagne, do something special. But Marcus said he was tired, said we would celebrate later, said he had a lot of work to catch up on. I thought that was fine, understandable. He was probably exhausted from the stress of the promotion, probably needed time to adjust. I could be patient. We had our whole lives to celebrate, except we didn't. Because 3 days after that conversation, the divorce papers arrived, delivered by certified mail, cold, legal, final. I called Marcus immediately. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. What is this? What are these papers? Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke. I want a divorce. Why? What happened? Did I do something wrong? Can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. I've made my decision. I don't want to be married anymore. But why? We just got past the hard part. You just got your promotion. Things are finally good. Why now? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said those words, the ones I mentioned at the beginning. I don't need you anymore. What? I don't need your money anymore. I can support myself now. And honestly, I don't want to be tied to you. I stayed because I needed help, but I don't need help anymore. So I'm done. The words hit me like a truck. He stayed because he needed help. He married me because I had money. He pretended to love me because I was useful. And now that I wasn't useful anymore, he was throwing me away like garbage. I hung up, sat on the floor of our apartment, the apartment I paid for. The apartment that held 5 years of what I thought was our life together. And I cried. Cried harder than I ever had, because I realized everything was a lie. Every I love you, every kiss, every moment, all fake, all manipulation, all about money. I called my sister, Jamie. She came over immediately, found me still sitting on the floor, still holding those divorce papers, still trying to understand how this happened. She wasn't surprised. She had never liked Marcus, had always said there was something off about him, something that didn't feel genuine. But I had defended him, told her she was being judgmental, told her she didn't know him like I did. She hugged me while I cried, let me be angry and sad and confused. And then she said something that changed everything. Did you keep records of all the money you gave him? Some. Bank statements, canceled checks, Venmo transactions. Why? Because he owes you. And we're going to make sure he pays back every penny. I had never thought about getting the money back. It was a gift. It was supporting my husband. You don't ask for that back, right? Wrong. Because it wasn't a gift. It was fraud. It was a man pretending to need help while planning his exit strategy. It was calculated, deliberate, evil. Jamie helped me gather everything. Every record of every payment I ever made to Marcus or for Marcus over the course of our relationship. We made a spreadsheet. Categorized everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, his car repairs, his student loan payments, his credit card debt, his clothes, his electronics, his trips, everything. The total came to $173,000 over 7 years. An average of almost $25,000 a year, more than many people make in a year. Money I gave to a man who was planning to leave me the second he didn't need it anymore. I hired a lawyer, a good one, a woman named Patricia, who specialized in divorce cases involving financial abuse. Yes, that's what this was, financial abuse. Marcus had used me, manipulated me, taken advantage of my love and generosity for his own gain. Patricia looked at all my records, all my documentation, all the evidence of exactly how much I had supported Marcus over the years. This is good, really good. We can argue that he defrauded you, that he entered into the marriage under false pretenses, That he used you for financial gain with no intention of reciprocating or contributing equally. Can we get the money back? We can try. It won't be easy. He'll argue it was gifts. That you gave willingly. That there was no agreement for him to pay you back. But we have a case, especially if we can prove he planned this. That he always intended to leave once he got his promotion. How do we prove that? We dig. We look at his communications, his social media, his messages. We talk to people who knew him. We find evidence that this wasn't a sudden decision. That it was always the plan. And we found it. Boy, did we find it. Patricia hired a private investigator. Someone who could dig deeper than I could. Someone who could find things Marcus thought were hidden. What they found made me physically ill. Made me question everything about my judgment, my intelligence, my worth. Marcus had been planning this for at least 2 years, had been talking about it with his friends, with his coworkers, with people I didn't even know existed. There were text messages, group chats, emails, all discussing his plan to leave me once he got his promotion. One message from 18 months ago said, "Just have to keep her happy a little longer. Once I get that VP position, I'm out. Finally won't need her bank account anymore." Another from a year ago said, playing the struggling husband card again. "She gave me $5,000 for unexpected bills. This is too easy." And the worst one. From 3 months before he got his promotion. Countdown is on. Few more months of playing house and I'm free. Already have my exit plan ready. He had planned this, calculated it. Used me deliberately and intentionally. And he had laughed about it with other people. Made jokes about how easy I was to manipulate. How gullible I was. How he had me completely fooled. I wanted to throw up, wanted to scream. Wanted to find Marcus and make him feel even a fraction of the pain and betrayal I was feeling. But I didn't. Because I had something better than revenge. I had evidence. Patricia filed a motion to freeze Marcus's assets, to prevent him from hiding money or spending his way out of repaying me. The judge granted it. Marcus couldn't touch his savings, his investments, his bank accounts, nothing. Until the divorce was settled and the court decided what he owed me. He was furious, called me screaming, called me horrible names, accused me of being vindictive and petty and trying to ruin his life. I stayed calm. Told him he ruined his own life when he decided to use me for 5 years. Told him he should have thought about the consequences before he committed fraud. Told him I would see him in court. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Marcus hired his own lawyer, a man who tried to argue that I had given Marcus money willingly, that there was no contract, no agreement, no obligation to repay, that it was simply a wife supporting her husband. Normal, marital financial dynamics. But Patricia destroyed that argument, showed the text messages, the emails, the evidence of Marcus's premeditation, his intent to defraud, his deliberate manipulation of me for financial gain. The judge was not happy. Not happy at all. He asked Marcus directly if the messages were real, if he had actually planned to leave me once he got his promotion, if he had used me for money. Marcus tried to deny it, tried to say the messages were taken out of context, that he was just venting to friends, that he never actually meant any of it, but there was too much evidence. Too many messages over too long a period, too much detail about his plans, too much proof that this was exactly what it looked like. The judge ruled in my favor, ordered Marcus to repay me the full $173,000, plus interest, plus my legal fees, a total of just over $200,000. Marcus didn't have that much money. Even with his promotion, even with his salary increase. He had spent most of what I gave him. On what, I'll never know. Probably his own entertainment, his own lifestyle, his own selfish desires. So the judge ordered wage garnishment. 25% of Marcus's paycheck would go directly to me. Every single paycheck. For the next several years. Until the debt was paid in full, Marcus had to tell his employer. Had to explain why his wages were being garnished. Had to admit what he did. And word spread. Through his office, through his industry, through his professional network. The man who used his wife for money for 5 years and then divorced her the second he didn't need her anymore. That's what people knew him as now. That's what his reputation became. He tried to move to a different company, get a fresh start, but the garnishment followed. And eventually, people always found out, always asked questions, always distanced themselves once they knew the truth. I got my money back. Slowly, over time, but I got it back. Every penny, with interest, with my legal fees covered, with justice served. But money wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted everyone to know what kind of person Marcus was, what he did, how he used me, so they wouldn't fall for his act, so they wouldn't become his next victim. I started a blog, anonymous at first, told my story. Every detail, every red flag I ignored. Every manipulation tactic he used. Every lie he told. Not to shame myself, but to warn others. To help people recognize financial abuse. To show that it doesn't always look obvious. That sometimes it looks like a struggling partner who just needs a little help. The blog went viral. Thousands of people read it. Hundreds commented with their own stories. Stories of partners who used them, manipulated them, took advantage of their love and generosity and left them with nothing. And some of those people recognized Marcus from my descriptions, recognized his tactics, his words, his patterns, because apparently I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the second. Marcus had done this before, multiple times, had a pattern of finding successful women, charming them, moving in with them, taking their money, and leaving when he got what he wanted, or when they caught on. His ex-girlfriend before me reached out, told me he did the exact same thing to her. Took over $40,000 from her before she finally kicked him out. But she never pursued legal action, never tried to get the money back, just wanted him gone. And there was another woman before her, and another before that. Marcus had been running this con for over a decade. I was just the latest victim. The one who happened to make enough money and be trusting enough to support him through his supposed struggle to get a promotion. I connected with these women, shared information, compared notes, built a case. And we went to the police together. Filed fraud charges. Multiple counts across multiple victims. Years of evidence, years of theft. Years of calculated manipulation and financial abuse. The police took it seriously. Opened an investigation, interviewed all of us, looked at all our evidence, all our records. All the patterns in Marcus's behavior across multiple relationships. Marcus was arrested at work. In front of his colleagues, in front of the people he had been trying to impress with his promotion. In front of everyone he had been lying to about why his wages were garnished. He was charged with multiple counts of fraud, theft by deception, financial exploitation. The trial took 6 months. All of us testified, told our stories, showed our evidence, made it clear this wasn't a misunderstanding, wasn't bad communication, wasn't normal relationship dynamics. This was a pattern of deliberate criminal behavior. Marcus was found guilty. Sentenced to 3 years in prison. Ordered to pay restitution to all of his victims. Ordered to register as a financial offender. His life, as he knew it, was over. The promotion meant nothing. The salary meant nothing. The success he worked for meant nothing. Because he lost it all when he decided using people was an acceptable way to get ahead. I should feel satisfied. Should feel vindicated. Should feel like justice was served. And I do, mostly. But I also feel sad. Sad that I wasted 7 years of my life on someone who never loved me. Sad that I ignored so many red flags. Sad that I let myself be used for so long. But I also learned about red flags, learned about manipulation, learned about financial abuse, learned that love shouldn't cost everything. That partnership means equal contribution. That sacrifice should go both ways. That no one who truly loves you will take and take and take and give nothing back. I'm 40 now, single, living alone in an apartment. I can actually afford because I'm not supporting anyone else. Working the job I'm good at, making money for myself, building a life for myself, on my own terms. I date sometimes, but I'm cautious now, aware, looking for red flags, asking questions, protecting myself, making sure I never end up in that situation again, making sure no one ever uses me like that again. People ask me if I regret supporting Marcus, if I wish I had never given him money, if I wish I had been less generous, less trusting, less loving. No. I don't regret being a good person. Being someone who helps the people they love. Being someone who believes in partnership and sacrifice and supporting your spouse. I regret choosing the wrong person. I regret ignoring red flags. I regret staying when I should have left. But I don't regret who I am. I don't regret being someone who loves deeply and gives generously. I just learned to be more careful about who deserves that love and generosity. Marcus is in prison now. Will be for another year and a half. I don't think about him much anymore. Don't wonder how he's doing. Don't care if he's learned anything. Don't hope for his redemption. He made his choices. He faces his consequences. That's not my problem anymore. The other women and I still keep in touch. We formed a support group. Meet monthly. Share our experiences. Help each other heal. Help each other recognize healthy relationships. Help each other move forward. And we started a foundation to help victims of financial abuse, to provide legal support, to connect people with resources, to educate people about the signs, to make sure what happened to us doesn't happen to others. Or at least, if it does happen, they know they're not alone. They know they can fight back. They know they can get justice. My blog is still up, still getting comments, still helping people. I eventually made it not anonymous, put my real name on it. My real story, my real face, because I'm not ashamed. I didn't do anything wrong. I was a victim of a crime, and victims shouldn't have to hide. Some people judge me, say I should have known better, should have seen the signs, should have protected myself. And maybe they're right. Maybe I should have. But hindsight is 20/20, and love makes you blind, and trust makes you vulnerable. And none of that makes what Marcus did okay. None of that makes it my fault. None of that means I deserved it. I gave my husband money for 5 years. I supported him through what I thought was a difficult time. I believed in him. I believed in us. I believed in our future together. And the second he didn't need me anymore, he threw me away. But he didn't win, because I fought back. I got my money back. I got justice. I got my life back. And he lost everything. His freedom, his reputation, his future, everything. So to anyone watching this who might be in a similar situation, who might be supporting a partner who always seems to struggle, who always seems to, we need help, who always seems to be just on the verge of getting ahead but never quite makes it. Pay attention, look for patterns, ask questions, protect yourself. Love doesn't mean being used. Partnership doesn't mean carrying all the weight. Supporting someone doesn't mean sacrificing everything. Real love is reciprocal. Real partnership is balanced. Real support goes both ways. Don't be like me. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe in someone. Don't give everything because you're afraid of seeming selfish. Don't stay because you've already invested so much. Know your worth, protect your resources. And never, ever let someone make you feel like caring for yourself is wrong. I learned this lesson the hard way. Lost years of my life and over $100,000 learning it. But I learned it, and now I'm sharing it. So maybe you don't have to learn it the hard way too. So maybe you can recognize the signs earlier. Protect yourself better. Choose partners more wisely. And build relationships that are actually partnerships instead of one-sided financial arrangements disguised as love. Marcus thought he was smart. Thought he had it all figured out. Thought he could use me and walk away unscathed. But he was wrong, because I didn't just accept it, didn't just let him get away with it, didn't just move on quietly. I fought. I gathered evidence. I hired lawyers. I pressed charges. I made sure he faced consequences. And I won. Not because I'm special. Not because I'm particularly smart or brave or strong. But because I refused to be a victim. Refused to let him write the ending to our story. Refused to let him walk away with everything while I was left with nothing. I took control. I fought back. And I got justice. And you can too. If you're being used, if you're being manipulated, if you're giving everything and getting nothing, you can fight back. You can gather evidence. You can hire a lawyer. You can press charges. You can get justice. It won't be easy. It won't be fast. But it's possible. And you deserve it. You deserve to be valued, to be respected, to be loved for who you are, not what you can give. And if the person you're with can't do that, they don't deserve you. Period. For 5 years, I gave my husband money to tide him over. But when he got a promotion, he divorced me. And I made him regret every second of it. But the story didn't end with Marcus going to prison, because 18 months later, he got out. And that's when things got complicated again. I'd almost forgotten about Marcus by then. Almost. I was 41, dating a wonderful man named Eric, who worked as a teacher, who made a modest salary and was completely transparent about his finances from day one, who insisted on splitting everything 50-50, who never asked me for money, who never made me feel used. We'd been together for 8 months when I got the first message from Marcus, a friend request on Facebook. I ignored it, blocked him, didn't think twice about it. Then came the email, to my work address, which he must have found through LinkedIn. Diana, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to talk to you. I've changed. Prison changed me. I've been going to therapy, working on myself, understanding what I did wrong. I want to apologize, properly, face to face. Please give me a chance to make things right. I deleted it, didn't respond. Told Eric about it. He was supportive, understanding, said I should do whatever felt right for me. But that I didn't owe Marcus anything. Not my time, not my forgiveness, nothing. But the messages kept coming. Different email addresses, text messages from unknown numbers, letters to my apartment, all saying the same thing. He was sorry. He was changed. He wanted to apologize. He wanted closure. I finally responded, one message. Clear and direct. Marcus, I don't want to hear from you. Your apologies mean nothing to me. You can't undo what you did. You can't. Give me back the years you stole. The only closure I need is for you to leave me alone. Stop contacting me. Move on with your life. I've moved on with mine. He stopped for a week. Then showed up at my work. I was leaving the office at 6 o'clock when I saw him waiting by my car. He looked different. Thinner, older. Prison had aged him. Broken something in him that used to look confident and charming. Now he just looked desperate and tired. Diana, please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I don't have 5 minutes for you. I asked you to leave me alone. I know. And I'm sorry. But I need to say this. I need you to hear me. Just once. Then I'll never bother you again. I promise. I looked at him. This man who had used me, who had taken years of my life and tens of thousands of my dollars, who had broken my trust and my heart, and I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, no residual feelings at all. He was just a stranger now, someone I used to know. Fine. 5 minutes. Right. Here. In this parking lot. Then you leave and never contact me again. Thank you. Thank you so much. He started talking. Fast. Like he was afraid I'd walk away before he finished. Told me about prison, about the therapy he'd been forced to do, about how he'd finally understood what he did, how wrong it was, how he'd hurt me and used me and betrayed me. He cried. Actual tears. Said he was ashamed, that he regretted everything, that he wished he could go back and do it all differently. That he'd loved me, really loved me, but he'd been so focused on money and success that he'd lost sight of what mattered. I listened. Didn't interrupt, didn't comfort him. Just let him say his piece like he asked. And when he finally stopped talking, I spoke. Are you done? Yes. Good. Now let me say something. I don't forgive you. I don't accept your apology. And I don't believe you've changed. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry you went to prison. Sorry you lost everything. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. Not really. Because if you were, you'd respect my boundaries. You'd leave me alone like I asked. But you couldn't even do that. So no. I don't accept your apology. And I don't want you in my life. Not for 5 minutes. Not for 5 seconds. Never. I got in my car, drove away, left him standing there in the parking lot. And I didn't look back. But Marcus didn't stop. 2 weeks later, he showed up at my apartment building, buzzed my intercom, asked to come up. I told him no. Told him I'd call the police if he didn't leave. He finally left. But I filed a restraining order the next day. Couldn't risk him escalating. Couldn't risk him becoming dangerous. The restraining order worked. Mostly. Marcus stopped showing up, stopped contacting me directly. But I heard things through mutual acquaintances, that he was struggling to find work, that his criminal record made it hard to get hired, that he was living with his parents, that the other women he'd victimized had also filed restraining orders, that he was essentially blacklisted from the dating world because word had spread about what he'd done. Good. He deserved all of it, deserved to struggle, deserved to face the consequences of his choices for the rest of his life. 6 months after the restraining order, I heard Marcus had moved to another state, trying to start over somewhere no one knew him, somewhere his reputation hadn't followed him. Part of me felt relieved. Distance meant safety. Distance meant I'd never have to deal with him again. But another part of me felt angry. Angry that he got to run away, got to try again, got to potentially find new victims who didn't know his history, who didn't know to protect themselves. That's when I decided to expand the Foundation's work, to create a registry, a database of people convicted of financial abuse. Names, photos, details of their crimes, publicly searchable. So anyone dating someone new could check, could protect themselves, could know if the person they were falling for had a history of using people. It wasn't easy. Legal challenges, privacy concerns, funding issues, but we did it. With help from the other victims. With donations from people who believed in the cause. With support from lawmakers who understood that financial abuse was real and devastating and needed to be taken seriously. The registry launched 2 years after Marcus got out of prison. His name was on it, his photo, his conviction details, everything. Anyone who Googled him would find it. Anyone he tried to date would know. He couldn't hide anymore, couldn't reinvent himself, couldn't pretend to be someone he wasn't. I got hate mail, people saying I was vindictive, that I was preventing Marcus from moving on, that everyone deserves a second chance, that I was being cruel. But I also got thank you messages from people who'd checked the registry before getting serious with someone, who'd discovered their new partner had a history of financial abuse, who'd protected themselves because of the information we provided, who were grateful someone was looking out for them. Those messages made it worth it, made all the work and stress and criticism worthwhile. Because we were helping people, preventing what happened to me from happening to others. Eric and I got engaged 3 years after we started dating. Small proposal, nothing fancy. Just him asking me to build a life together, to be partners in the truest sense, to split everything equally and face everything together. I said yes, not because I needed him, not because I couldn't survive alone, but because I wanted to, because he added to my life instead of taking from it, because he valued me for who I was instead of what I could give him. We had a small wedding. My sister Jamie was my maid of honor. The other women from the support group were there. My friends from work, Eric's family, people who knew our story, who understood what I'd been through, who celebrated this new beginning with genuine joy. Marcus wasn't invited, obviously, but I thought about him that day, briefly, wondered if he was still struggling, still trying to rebuild, still regretting his choices. And then I stopped thinking about him, because he didn't deserve space in my head anymore, didn't deserve to be part of my wedding day, my new life, my happiness. Eric and I bought a house together, both our names on the deed, both contributing equally to the down payment, both paying the mortgage, both making it our home. True partnership, true equality. Everything my marriage to Marcus wasn't. I got promoted at work. Senior financial analyst, leadership role, better salary. But this time, my salary was mine, to save, to invest, to use as I saw fit. I didn't have to worry about someone else draining my accounts, using my resources, taking advantage of my success. The foundation continued to grow. We helped dozens of people get legal support, recover stolen money, press charges against abusers, build new lives. Our support group expanded to multiple cities. We started educational programs in schools and colleges, teaching people about financial abuse, about red flags, about protecting themselves. My blog became a book. A publisher reached out, wanted to share my story with a wider audience. I said yes, wrote about everything, the manipulation, the betrayal, the fight for justice, the rebuilding, Everything. The book sold well, better than I expected. Became required reading in some relationship education programs. Started conversations about financial abuse that hadn't been happening before. Made people aware that this was real, that it happened, that it mattered. I did interviews, podcasts, speaking engagements. Shared my story over and over, not because I enjoyed reliving it, but because people needed to hear it, needed to understand that financial abuse is abuse. That it's not just about money, it's about control, manipulation, power, and it can happen to anyone. 5 years after Marcus got out of prison, I heard he'd gotten married again. To someone who apparently didn't know about his history, someone he'd met in his new state. Someone who didn't think to check the registry, or didn't care what she found there. Part of me wanted to warn her, to reach out, to tell her what she was getting into, but I didn't. Because I couldn't save everyone, couldn't protect everyone, could only share information and hope people used it. Hope people protected themselves. Hope people learned from stories like mine. The other women, and I still met monthly. Some had moved on, married, had kids, built successful careers and happy lives. Others were still healing, still working through the trauma, still learning to trust again, but we all supported each other, celebrated victories, mourned setbacks, showed up for each other. That's what saved us, not just the legal justice, not just getting our money back, not just seeing our abuser go to prison, but finding each other, building community, creating something meaningful from our pain, helping others avoid what we went through. I'm 45 now, married to Eric for 3 years, no kids. By choice. We're happy with just us, with our careers, our friends, our life together. I make good money. He makes good money. We combine finances for household expenses and keep separate accounts for personal spending. True equality, true partnership, true teamwork. Sometimes I think about where I'd be if I hadn't fought back. If I'd just accepted the divorce and moved on. Let Marcus keep the money. Let him get away with it. I'd probably still be paying off debt. Still trying to rebuild my savings. Still feeling like a victim. Still letting him define my story. But I didn't let him. I fought. I gathered evidence. I hired lawyers. I pressed charges. I got justice. I got my money back. I got my power back. I got my life back. And then I used that experience to help others do the same. That's my legacy. Not being Marcus's victim, but being a survivor who fought back, who got justice, who helped others, who turned pain into purpose, who refused to let one bad person destroy the rest of my life. The foundation we built has now helped over 300 people recover stolen money from financial abusers. 300 people who didn't have to go through it alone. Who had support, legal resources, a community who understood, who could fight back and win. Some people still ask me if I've truly forgiven Marcus, if I've let go of the anger, if I've moved past what he did. And the answer is complicated. I'm not angry anymore. I don't think about him daily, don't dream about revenge, don't wish harm on him. But I also haven't forgiven him in the traditional sense, haven't absolved him. Haven't decided what he did was okay or understandable or forgivable. I've simply moved past needing anything from him. Not his apology, not his acknowledgement, not his redemption. I've released him from my life, without releasing him from responsibility for his actions. That's what closure really means. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, not understanding, just release. Just moving forward without the person who hurt you holding you back. Eric understands this. Never pressures me to forgive, never suggests I'm bitter or stuck. Never makes me feel like my boundaries around Marcus are unreasonable. He just supports me, loves me, builds a life with me that has nothing to do with my past and everything to do with our future. Last month, I spoke at a women's conference. Over 1,000 attendees. I told my story, shared the red flags, explained the warning signs, gave practical advice about protecting yourself financially in relationships. And afterward, the line to talk to me was 50 people deep. Women with tears in their eyes, telling me they recognized themselves in my story. That they were currently supporting partners who never seemed to get ahead. that they'd been making excuses for unequal financial contributions, that they were going home to have hard conversations, to set boundaries, to protect themselves. One woman, probably in her late 20s, grabbed my hand and said, "You just saved me. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. He's never paid rent, always has some excuse. I thought I was being supportive, but you made me realize I'm being used. I'm ending it tonight. Thank you. That's why I keep telling my story. Keep speaking. Keep writing. Keep running the foundation. Because for every Marcus out there are potential victims who can be warned, who can be educated, who can protect themselves before they lose years of their life and thousands of their dollars to someone who doesn't actually love them." Jamie still jokes that I should thank Marcus for making me rich. Because between the book, the speaking fees, and the work with the foundation, I've made back far more than he ever took. But it's not about the money. It never was. It was about justice, about power, about refusing to be a victim, about taking a terrible experience and transforming it into something meaningful. The registry we created has now been accessed over 10,000 times. 10,000 people checking potential partners, protecting themselves, making informed decisions. We've received reports that it's prevented at least 15 relationships with known financial abusers. 15 people who didn't become victims because we provided information. Marcus's current wife reached out 2 years ago, found me through the foundation, said she wished she'd known, wished she'd checked the registry, wished someone had warned her. Because he'd done it to her too, took her savings, accumulated debt in her name, and then tried to leave when she finally cut him off. But she fought back too, used our resources, our lawyers, our support system. And she won her case, got her money back, got Marcus arrested again, for violating his parole, for committing the same crimes he'd gone to prison for. He's back in prison now. Longer sentence this time. The judge was harsher with a repeat offender. Marcus got 7 years. Will be 60 years old when he gets out, his life essentially over. No career, no reputation, no chance of fooling anyone again. The registry, the news coverage, the public record, all of it following him forever. Some people say I should feel bad for him, that he's paid his debt to society, that everyone deserves redemption, but I don't feel bad, not even a little. Because he didn't learn, didn't change, didn't stop. He got out of prison and immediately found another victim, another woman to use, another life to ruin. He did this to himself, chose this path, chose to hurt people for personal gain, chose to ignore the consequences and the warnings and the chance to be better. So no, I don't feel bad. I feel vindicated, proven right. Glad the system finally gave him the punishment he deserves. His wife, Monica, joined our support group, became close friends with me and the other women. She's healing now, building her life back, dating someone new who respects her and treats her as an equal. She's become an advocate too, speaks at events with me, shares her story, warns other women. Together, we're building something bigger than any of us individually. A movement, a community, a force that protects women from men like Marcus, that holds abusers accountable, that creates real consequences for financial manipulation and exploitation. The laws are changing too. Several states have passed legislation specifically addressing financial abuse, making it easier to press charges, easier to recover stolen funds, easier to get justice. Our foundation lobbied for these changes, testified at hearings, shared our stories with lawmakers, made them understand this is real and widespread and devastating. It's not enough. Not yet. There's still so much work to do. So many victims who don't know they have options, who don't know they can fight back, who don't know they deserve better. But we're making progress. Slowly, steadily, one case at a time, one victim at a time, one abuser at a time. My story became a cautionary tale, a case study, a teaching tool. Universities use it in psychology classes. Law schools use it in domestic violence curricula. Financial planning courses use it to teach about protecting assets. It's everywhere. Which means the message is getting out. People are learning, awareness is growing. I never wanted to be famous. Never wanted this kind of attention. But if my pain can prevent someone else's pain, it's worth it. If my story can save even one person from what I went through, then everything I went through had meaning. Eric and I are talking about adoption, about providing a home for a child who needs one, about building a family not through biology but through choice and love and commitment, about showing that family is what you make it, not what's given to you. We're not rushing it. Taking our time, making sure we're ready, making sure we can provide stability and security and love, making sure we're doing it for the right reasons, not to fill a void, not to prove something, but because we genuinely want to give a child a good life. I think about what kind of parent I'll be, what lessons I'll teach, what values I'll pass on. And I know financial literacy will be high on the list. Teaching my child about money, about independence, about protecting themselves, about recognizing manipulation, about knowing their worth. But also teaching them about generosity, about helping people, about being kind without being a doormat, about the difference between supporting someone and being used by someone, about healthy relationships built on mutual respect and equal contribution. Those are lessons I learned the hard way. Lessons that cost me years and dollars and heartbreak. But lessons I can now teach. So the next generation doesn't have to learn them the same way. So they can be kind and generous without being taken advantage of. So they can love deeply without losing themselves. Jamie tells me I'm stronger now than I was before Marcus. That going through hell and coming out the other side forged something unbreakable in me. That I have a confidence and self-assurance I didn't have before. A clarity about who I am and what I deserve. She's right, I am stronger, but I also wish I didn't have to be. Wish I could have learned these lessons without the pain, without the betrayal, without losing years of my life to someone who never valued me. But we don't get to choose our lessons, only how we respond to them. I could have stayed bitter, stayed broken, stayed a victim. But I chose something else, chose to fight, chose to heal, chose to help others, chose to build something meaningful from something terrible. That's power, real power. Not the power to hurt people or use people or control people, but the power to transform pain into purpose, betrayal into bravery, victimhood into victory. That's the power Marcus could never take from me. The power I found within myself when everything else was stripped away. I look at my life now and I'm proud. Proud of how I handled it. Proud of what I built. Proud of who I've become. I have a loving marriage, a meaningful career, a purpose that matters. A community that supports me, financial security I earned and protected, a voice that helps people. None of that came from Marcus. All of it came from me, from my choices, my strength, my refusal to stay down, my determination to not just survive, but thrive, my decision to turn the worst thing that happened to me into the catalyst for the best things in my life. So yes, for 5 years I gave my husband money to tide him over. And yes, when he got a promotion, he divorced me. And yes, I made him regret it. But more than that, I made him irrelevant. Made his betrayal meaningless in the grand scheme of my life. Made his actions the springboard for something bigger than his small, selfish existence. Made my story about me, not him. About my resilience, not his cruelty. About my victory, not his fraud. And that's the real ending. Not Marcus in prison, not getting my money back. Not even the foundation or the book or the speaking engagements. The real ending is me, living a life I love, with people who value me, doing work that matters, completely unbothered by the man who thought he could use me and throw me away. He thought he won when he got that promotion and left me. Thought he'd played the game perfectly, thought he'd gotten away with it, but he lost everything while I gained everything. Lost his freedom, his reputation, his future. While I gained my power, my purpose, my peace. So to Marcus, wherever you are in your prison cell, serving your 7-year sentence for doing to someone else exactly what you did to me, I win. Not because you lost, but because I built something beautiful from the ruins you left behind. Because I became someone stronger than you ever broke. Because I turned your betrayal into my triumph. And to everyone else who's been used, manipulated, financially abused, taken advantage of by someone they loved and trusted, you can win too. You can fight back. You can get justice. You can recover. You can heal. You can build something beautiful from the pain. You can become stronger than what broke you. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. It won't be simple. But it's possible. I'm living proof. And so are the hundreds of other people who fought back and won, who refused to stay victims, who demanded justice and got it, who transformed their pain into purpose. That's my message. That's my story. That's my legacy. Not the woman who got used and divorced, but the woman who fought back and won. Who built something meaningful? Who helped others do the same? Who proved that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your story? It can be the beginning of something even better. Marcus gave me the worst experience of my life. But I used that experience to create the best version of myself. The strongest, the wisest, the most purposeful, the most powerful, the most helpful, the most free. And that's how you really win. Not by hurting the person who hurt you, but by becoming someone so completely healed and whole and happy that they become irrelevant. Someone so focused on the present and future that the past loses its power. Someone so surrounded by genuine love and respect that the person who showed you neither becomes just a distant memory. A cautionary tale. A closed chapter. I'm 45 years old. I've been divorced from Marcus for 8 years, and I can honestly say these past 8 years have been better than any of the years I spent with him. Because these years are mine, built on truth, on genuine partnership with Eric, on meaningful work, on authentic relationships, on self-respect and boundaries and knowing my worth. Marcus took 7 years of my life, but I've built 8 better years since. And I'll build 8 more after that, and 8 more after that. Until the years without him far outnumber the years with him. Until he's barely a footnote in my long, happy, purposeful life. That's the real revenge. Not making him suffer, but building a life so good that his brief, destructive presence in it becomes insignificant. Building a legacy so meaningful that his manipulation becomes just the origin story, the catalyst. The thing that made me who I am but doesn't define who I am. I supported my husband for 5 years with my money. He divorced me when he got promoted. I made him pay every penny back and sent him to prison. But more importantly, I built an entire life and career and purpose around making sure what he did to me doesn't happen to others. Around turning pain into power. Around proving that victims can become victors. And that's the ending I choose. Not Marcus in prison, but me, free and happy and purposeful, living proof that you can survive betrayal and come out stronger. That you can fight financial abuse and win. That you can turn the worst thing that happened to you into the best thing you ever did. That's my story, that's my truth, that's my victory, and I'm sharing it so it can be yours too. Subscribe for more stories like this.